Hey, everybody, welcome to the Christianese podcast. We're going to talk about sore subjects that have been brought to light regarding the Christian faith. Then we're going to go a little deeper with ways we can change some of those flaws in our Christian subculture. I'm your host, JD Shin. Let's roll. I'm glad you're here. I have another rousing bit of discussion to share with you. So, today I want to talk about how Christianity, true, real, honest Christianity, is more than just a moral improvement plan. It seems like our Christianity a lot of times shows up as a way for people to just be better people and for you to live kind of a more holier than thou lifestyle. I don't think that's really what we're after. What people today or at any point in history have really been after in terms of finding the depth of meaning, and then what we end up finding out is that we have an eternal benefit from knowing who God is, from getting to know God and having what we call, and those of you who might be listening in, what we refer to as eternal security. We throw that term around pretty pretty fluidly, but we're after an eternal security. We receive an eternal security, and that should inform our lifestyle, of course. However, we treat it like it's a moral improvement plan. We put programs together and make ourselves into nicer people, and that there's a good in that, definitely. I believe in being better people, but the gospel message is really pretty simple. Humans are broken. We really are. You can argue it all you want, but the reality is that we are broken people. I mean, look at wars that have gone on, current war. The people are broken. At the bare minimum, we're broken. An honest look at the person in the mirror will tell you that you're not whole. You're not. I'm not. I look in the mirror every morning and note that I am a broken image of God. You have talents, you have gifts, you do nice things. That's true. But when you look at your life as a whole, the thoughts, the decisions, the anger, the frustrations, you're not perfect. God is. God is love and justice and honor and grace and all these beautiful, wonderful things. God is perfect. He's higher than people are. He's better than people are. This has been a long debated thing, but what we find in Christianity is that God is perfect. He's good. He's benevolent. Again, the list goes on. God's love makes a big impact in that because people, his pinnacle of creation, we're broken and cannot have a relationship with him because of that. Yet, he made a plan to cover that. He offered a present, a gift, a present so impactful that it could allow our deep imperfection to be covered so we could each be healed of the sickness of our brokenness. He brought Jesus. So to take this gift, accept it, is healing present for your soul and life, okay? Your soul and your life, or you can refuse it. That's really it. At Christmas time, we offer each other gifts, and we say, "Here, I have a gift for you." Now, let's say when my wife gets me a tie. She gets me a tie for Christmas, and I can leave it in the box. I can open it and throw it away. I can throw it in her face. I can accept it with gratitude and wear it. I can do a lot of different things with it, but if I don't accept it and I don't wear it, I've not really taken the gift and let it operate in my life, if you will. So it's that gift and reception of the gift that is part of what we believe as Christians, that is the gospel. We can take it or we can leave it. what I'm observing about Christianity as a whole, and again, I know there's exceptions to this that we don't often want to talk about, or maybe we do talk about, we use that as the rule rather than the exception. But it seems like it's more the rule than the exception for us to take our Christianity and now it just means this moral improvement plan. Well, I think that's just frankly BS. I don't think we need to put the moral improvement plan before the gift and let it operate at a soul level. It operates at a soul level first, and then it operates in a life level. Otherwise, it's merely just an AA or an NA or a meditation plan, whatever the case is. It puts it on an equivalent level of any other plan that's out there. There's good in some of these plans, but they're not the same. They really aren't. Our Christian world likes to say, clean yourself up, then you can join us. Act like a nice person, then you can be part of our club. It's like saying to someone who has a terminal illness, get healed, then go to the doctor. Or we say, okay, now that you're here, you need to start behaving better. Stop wearing those holy pants, stop smoking, quit drinking. While those might be, I mean, the holy pants is kind of ridiculous, but on a comparison level, shouldn't we be more concerned about the soul level of a person rather than what they do outwardly? It might not be that God wants to necessarily deal with their soul, or their he wants to deal with their soul more than he wants to deal with their pants, more than he wants to deal with smoking or drinking or cussing or whatever those outward things are. Those will take place, but let the God of the universe that created them handle that. Don't be so pretentious about how we act toward a rookie believer that hasn't cleaned themselves up. We can't make that part of what we require rather than saying what God requires. God's requirement is, hey, I love you. Accept this gift. That's it. That's the message of the gospel. So stop requiring all these early requirements and these rules to play the priority over showing God to them. So some of the questions I keep coming to are, why are we so offended by some of these little insignificant items? Maybe because we think they should be super moral when we're actually hypocrites. Because we tell them, just come to church and everything will be better. And then it doesn't work out that way. Because Jesus fixes our circumstances, then gives us more circumstances. Because we tell them God can heal them, then there's no healing sometimes. Because the one we display as God isn't God. It's our manufactured version of him. Wow, those are some of the inconsistencies that people are seeing on a broad stroke. People are seeing this. Ouch. It actually kind of hurts not just our reputation as the church, but it also hurts the reputation of God. I read an interesting book not too long ago. It's called Unchristian by David Kinnaman. It's worth picking up. And I'm directing this for the Christians that are listening. Pick that book up. I'm not getting anything from that. I want you to know that. But go in and pick it up somewhere. Find a bookstore and pick up Unchristian by David Kinnaman. He goes through some research, actual hard data that shows why people are turned off by our faith. They're not turned off by our faith necessarily. And in the next episode, I'm going to touch on that fact. But for now, I'm going to just state that there's been research that has shown why modern people outside of the faith of Christianity are really turned off and want to turn away from what we call Christianity. And largely it comes down to the hypocrisy that is there. Now, I know that that's part of reality, that we come because we know that we're broken. You've heard it said that it's that the church is a place, it's a sick bed for sick people, and that's why it pulls in so many broken people. But then we continue to display, hey, we have to behave ourselves. We need to judge everybody else rather than judging ourselves. It's more that, and you'll see the data if you pick that book up, that we make these judgments on other people and expect them to live up to our standards that we want to say are God's standards. And what I'm arguing is that we push these rules on everybody else. And it's a turnoff. It's not helping evangelism. Knock it off. I have one more question that I'm going to pose. Is Christianity just a moral improvement plan? I hope that's kind of offensive to some of us. I hope you're a little concerned with where this might go, because this could really go down the road of, well, God loves me, so I don't have to be better. Take a step back from the middle of our own world and objectively look at the church. And I think when you can look at this book, Unchristian, you might find what I found. And again, I mentioned in the first episode that I had some cynicism, and I think that's normal for a person that comes and objectively looks at the church. We can't be the kind of people that expect moral perfection from those that are outside. Everyone's broken. Looking at them with an honest look, in the same way that you look at yourself with an honest look, is going to bring a different reality to their world and your own world. We live lives that reflect a strong moral code, but we often have our feet on both sides of that fence. When we say anything about God, it's often really a shortcoming. It says people just need to get saved. It's the fire insurance. We want people to not go to hell. Okay, but what about really living? I'm going to get to something in a second, but hang on to that point. Maybe we should go deeper than just some simple rule following. What if this whole Christian thing is a lot bigger than just behaving better? That's the point I want to drive today. Think about that. What if this whole Christianity thing that we are a part of is a lot bigger than just being nicer or having our own fire insurance, following a particular church's, little c, social structures? Ooh, might have stepped on some toes there. It's not a social program. Sure, we want that gathering, that encouragement from being around people of like mind. That makes sense. Everybody has that. I know there's things we need to do and to be, but I think that's another point that I'm driving at is, what's the more important thing? Is it to do or to be? I get it. Show me your faith without works, and I'll show you a dead faith, right? We've read that, and that's a valid point, 100%, 130%. It's a valid point. But the flip side of it is it just that? I propose that it's not. Another book that I've gotten into is called Keys to the Kingdom by Rob Reimer. And one of the points that he drives at consistently in the book is that authority doesn't come from doing. It comes from being. And out of being comes the doing. So when I was a coach, I used to be kind of a life coach. I called myself a health coach. It was a weird thing, but I was there. I loved working with the people because I got to work on their behaviors and things of that nature. And that was good. It was valuable. One of the things that I often would talk about is a person who desires, again, this is in a health realm, so go with me on this analogy. A person who desires to quit smoking really won't become a non-smoker until they've decided to be a non-smoker. Now, they can quit smoking, and often they might quit for a little while, but if they consider themselves a smoker, they're still a smoker. But it's that internal shift that says, I'm a non-smoker. I don't smoke anymore. It's that same thing. They have now identified as a non-smoker. That's a funny term to use these days, I know. They now identify as a non-smoker, so they don't smoke. Rather than, I'm trying to quit smoking. I'm trying to quit smoking. I'm a smoker. I'm trying to quit smoking. Their decision internally at their quote unquote soul level has made them now able to behave by what's going on inside of them. So what do we need to choose to be? I propose that we need to be able to have working inside of us this gift that I mentioned before, the present, that's life-giving, that we give life rather than saying be a crunchy rule follower and then that'll somehow give you life on the other end. That'll be what gives you eternal life. It doesn't work that way. We use the word grace often. And grace is a funny thing. Ephesians, again, I'm talking to Christians. So know that if you wouldn't consider yourself a Christian, you just find this interesting conversation, know that I'm opposed to Christianese. One of the books we often reference as Christians is the book of Ephesians, that is a letter from the Apostle Paul, who wrote to a new church, brand new group of people that were brand new to this whole Christian thing. And it was really a brand new faith at that point. And one of the things he writes in there is, for it is by grace that we've been saved through faith, and that not of your works, lest anyone should boast, right? I mean, I butchered that a little bit, but if you go in there that you read that passage, you recognize that God's grace, this term that we throw around fairly flippantly at times, when we study that word grace, we find that we are called up. We are asked to live by what we've been given, not live by what we see as rules. And I think that's the difference between people that want to just institute a bunch of rules, and this is how you show God, by following the rules that we put in place, following the rules that we put in place. That's a dangerous thing. You don't fit our mold, you can't be here. That's what makes us into a moral improvement plan, is here's our rules, follow these and you can be accepted by us. Rather than, wow, this creator of the world and everything in it, everything outside of it, he existed before everything. He's God. He made a way for me to be in contact with him, for us to develop a friendship with a king. And that has made me want to live the life that he has asked me to, not only because it's good, not only because he asked me to, but because it is better. It creates this life that is less regret and all of these other benefits. Because of the grace that God has given to me, I don't have to be a grumpy turd ball anymore. I don't have to be angry at everyone. I don't have to even call them to live by my standards. I get to live how he wants me to live. And that just makes me a more happy person. Circumstances are never promised to be better. Read your Bible, Christians. Our life is promised to be more difficult. And if it's not, then you might want to question whether you're following him. Be full of grace. Let that grace simmer in your soul. And when it does, what I've found is that when I'm like meditating on that great thing, I'm a lot more grateful. I'm a lot more kind. I'm a lot less judgy. In my next episode, I will talk about how that has worked out in friendships for me. And I'll use some of that stuff for our conversation. But I encourage you, here's where I kind of want to leave today, is that we ought to have a deeper level of kindness because of the inner soul level work that's gone into us, rather than being crunchy rule followers that just want to be rude, frankly. I hope today has been beneficial for you, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Christianese podcast. Talk to you next time. I love you.